Senators Chris Murphy and Andy Kim spoke at a press briefing this morning to talk about Donald Trump's decision to pause federal funding across the country. The decision which has left many afraid that they won't be able to pay for the food, to put food on their table for their families, even police officers wondering if they're going to be funded. So first, we have Senator Murphy, who's going to talk about the legality of Donald Trump's decision. Following Murphy is Andy Kim to talk about the chaos that has ensued since Trump announced the decision. If you like videos like this, be sure to subscribe to Reflect Politics so that you get my future videos delivered straight to you.
So this is an attempt by Donald Trump to seize power. It sounds like a provocative thing to say, but how else do you describe what we have watched happen over the last week? The broad immunization of political violence, the illegal firing of inspectors general there to make sure that the money of the taxpayers isn't stolen. And today, the illegal and unconstitutional decision to put the President of the United States and no one else in charge of who gets federal money and who doesn't. What President Trump is doing is seizing control of the federal budget and deciding by himself who gets money and who doesn't. For two reasons. One, he wants to bank money so that he can afford his massive tax cut for billionaires and corporations. But second, so that he can hand out money to his friends, to the companies that are run by his billionaire donors, to states that voted for him, to congressional districts with members of Congress who are loyal to him, and so that he can deny money to any organization run by Democrats, to companies that are competitors to his billionaire friends, to congressional districts represented by his political opponents. This is what a king does. This is not how a democracy works. One man does not decide how taxpayers' money is spent so that it only gets sent to the president's political friends and it gets used to punish his political enemies. The scope of the damage that will be done is enormous. To poor kids who rely on Head Start programs, to families who desperately need that cancer research done, to veterans who, if they miss one or two appointments, their life falls apart suddenly overnight. We have to understand what is happening in context, right? The president wants you to be distracted by the day-to-day announcements, but put together the pardoning of the violent rioters, the firing of the inspectors general, and today, the stoppage of federal funding, leaving the decision only to the political whims of President Trump, represents the gravest, most serious constitutional crisis of our lifetime, one that threatens to undermine the very premise of American democracy. And I'm glad to be standing here with my colleagues to raise this alarm.
As everyone up here has been talking about, we are getting phone calls and emails from our constituents, people back in our state, and the word that everyone uses is chaos. And as I've been thinking about it, I'll be honest with you, chaos is the point because chaos is their plan. This is going exactly as they want it to go. They could have chose a different way to try to figure out how to be more effective and efficient if that was actually their goal. But their goal is to sow chaos. And I hope the American people see this, because this is the style of governing, or quote-unquote governing, that we will see for the next 4 years. And the American people have to ask them, is this what they want? What we see right now, whether it's the actions we see with this with OMB, or the firing of the inspector generals and the independent advisors there, or what we saw at USAID and the leadership there, what we see right now, it's showing that the defining phrase of Trump's administration and the beginning of his administration isn't the golden age. It's a phrase that he used during the campaign, the enemy from within. That we see him now in the presidency, in the Oval Office, waging war against the American people, trying to think about solely how it is that he can attain and consolidate that power for himself. And who is going to be the people that struggle and suffer from it? It's going to be the American people. I wanted to read you this email that I got. We got this overnight. It said, "Good morning. We just heard that President Trump issued a memo temporarily freezing federal grants and loans effective at 5 p.m. today. This is obviously alarming to those who rely on federal funding to help people with disabilities. This is an organization that is trying to figure out how it is that they can help the Americans that need help the most, the support the most. The idea that this is going to cut off funding, put in jeopardy and throw into chaos people with disabilities, seniors, the people with healthcare needs, is cruel. But again, that's the point. They don't care about the collateral damage. They care about their own power, and they care about themselves."
Senator Murphy there ending with a very dark message that this undermines our democracy. And that, of course, is what everybody is terrified of, because Donald Trump has been joking recently that he's going to run for a third term. Imagine this for the next 4 years. Imagine it for the next 8 or the next 12. It would be unbearable. Also, Senator Kim talking about the chaos that has unfolded. That is the point. There is so much going on with Trump, this administration. He's meddling in investigations. He's firing inspectors general. He's stripping some members of his former cabinet of their security detail because they decided they were going to go against him. He is making moves that are clearly fascist and authoritarian, and the American people are trying to follow all of it. I mean, this has really been Donald Trump's strategy since day one, which is why we're seeing people who are Trump voters, MAGA supporters, who are now realizing that they're getting thrown under the bus, that their SNAP benefits may go away, that their Medicaid coverage might go away. I mean, they were blinded by the misinformation, the disinformation that came out of the Trump campaign and right-wing media outlets. They were blinded by the anti-woke, anti-immigrant agenda. Little did they know that anti-woke includes them. It includes the people who are basically the bottom 99% of the country. And so, of course, Donald Trump took advantage of them. He got their votes by promising that he was going to be, the anti-woke, anti-immigrant president, which is code for anti-minority. And little did they know that they were going to get caught up in this. Little did they know that their families may not have food on their tables because Trump really thinks that, everybody should just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And that's giving Trump kind of too much credit for this. He is so incredibly corrupt that, just like Murphy said there, he's using this to be able to bank money so that he can give it to the people he wants to give it to and withhold it from his enemies and the enemies of his friends. So, of course, just another moment where Trump is making it clear that he is a threat to democracy, a threat to our country. The whole America first, make America great again is a complete joke.